Hello and welcome. This is Pure Light, where we explore how you can believe in yourself and be happy with who you are. My name is Eiley. This is the 10th episode, and it's about the voice inside your head. So if you are wondering, what voice is she talking about? It's exactly that voice. It's a voice that's often questioning what's happening or telling us about what's happening or somehow evaluating what's happening. And it's so integrated into our daily experience that we often don't even notice it. So I want to share a story with you today about a time that I noticed it and the difference that that made in my life. So just to set the scene, there's this event in Toronto called White Tantric. It's a day-long meditation workshop, and it's done at an old church in Toronto. So it's this beautiful old church. It's probably about 5 stories tall, has giant stained glass windows, and it's right in the heart of downtown. So it's surrounded by modern buildings, and it's right next to the big shopping center. And it has hardwood floors, and for this event, the floor is cleared, so all the benches are pushed out to the sides, and then the participants are assembled on the floor in these long lines. So there's probably about 5 lines that go from the front of the church to the back, and people sit in pairs. So each pair of participants has the space the size of a yoga mat, and they sit facing each other for the most part. And then right next to them is another pair of people on a yoga mat, and so on and so on. And that's what makes up the lines. And everyone at this event is dressed all in white from head to toe. So people have to wear a head covering, which some people wear hats, some people wear scarves, some people wear turbans. So the head is covered for this event. And then people are also wearing white. So white shirts, white pants, white dresses, whatever they're wearing, it's all white. And because of this, it can be hard to find and recognize people, even people you know. Like there are probably about a handful of people that I know that I could recognize from across the room in a sea of white. But there are a lot of people that I may not necessarily recognize from across the room, or even when they're close to me, unless I actually see their face, if everyone's dressed all in white. And there's probably about a couple of 100 people at this event. So it's quite crowded. There's a lot of people. Everyone's in white. And one of the rules at this event is that you aren't allowed to cross any of the lines. So when you get up, whether it's to go to the washroom or get water or get lunch or whatever it is, you have to walk in the little space between the lines. So you can't cross through the lines. And so sometimes when it's really crowded, if there's like a mass exodus after a long meditation or something with people going to the washroom, I find myself looking down to see where I can step so that I can keep moving forward, because there isn't a lot of space. There's a lot of people, and you don't have a lot of time necessarily during all the breaks. And anyway, at this event a couple of years ago, because of, the nature of how it's set up and everyone being all in white and potentially hard to recognize, I realized I walked right by this woman that I knew. She's someone from the Kundalini community in Toronto, and I only realized after we passed each other that it was her. So I didn't see her face until after we'd passed each other, and we're kind of beyond the point where we could actually talk because we were too far at that point. And since we didn't make eye contact, I didn't know whether or not she saw me, and I didn't know whether or not she intended to not say hi to me. And anyway, this happened with this same woman 3 times at that same event. So the first time I was like, oh man, we missed each other. It would have been nice to say hi. The second time I was like, that's weird. Like, why wouldn't she say hi? And then the third time I was like, I wonder if she's trying to ignore me. Like, what's going on? And my mind started searching for some kind of explanation for this. And it was at that point that I remembered we'd had a conflict a couple of months earlier. So basically, in a nutshell, we had both wanted the same thing. There was only room for one of us to get that thing. So we were in a bit of a competition with each other. And I don't actually remember what happened with that. But anyway, that was kind of the history at that point in time. And so at White Tantric that day, I remember thinking, oh my God, she must be avoiding me because she's still angry or upset about this thing that happened a couple months ago. And at the same time, I realized that all of this could potentially just be a story in my head because I didn't really know if it was true. Like I didn't know if she really was angry with me or still held resentment because of the thing that had happened, or if maybe she hadn't noticed me either, or, like it's really easy to walk by people, without necessarily noticing them. So I decided to keep an open mind about our relationship and see how things went the next time I saw her, and not treat her as if it was true that I thought that she was angry with me or resented me. Because I know that can sometimes show up in how you say hi to people, or even whether or not you say hi to people. So anyway, at this point, I had enough awareness to realize that it was possible that this story was true, but also to realize that it was possible that it was not, and it was completely made up. So the next time I saw her, which was a couple of months later at a yoga studio, she was like, "Ailey!" And she was clearly really excited to see me. And I was excited to see her, and we hugged and we started catching up, and it was really nice. And it was at that point that it kind of confirmed to me that the explanation that I had for why we didn't talk at White Tantric was just the voice in my head. It wasn't anything that was really based in reality, because she clearly, based on how we said hi to each other, she didn't hold any resentment towards me. So here's the thing. The mind is constantly reacting to whatever's happening. So it's making up a story as things go along. It's commenting on what's happening. It's judging or evaluating what's happening. And ultimately, it's making assumptions about what's happening in a way that gives meaning to the events in our lives. And the dangerous thing about this is that those assumptions may or may not be true. And they often happen so automatically that we just assume that they're true and we don't even question them. If I had not questioned the assumptions in my mind, I probably would have been a bit held back the next time I saw this woman, and it would have impacted our relationship. And I'm really grateful that that didn't happen. And, we're still friends. And there's an episode of Super Soul Sunday in which Brene Brown was talking to Oprah about this as well. I'll put a link to that in the show notes so that you can watch it if you want to. You can find that at purelightpodcast.com. Look for episode 10. It's kind of interesting to watch because it talks about this exactly. And the assumptions that we make can really be dangerous because they can ultimately not just affect our relationships, but how we see ourselves and how we see the world. The voice inside your head is constantly making assumptions about everything. And those assumptions may or may not be true. So you don't have to believe everything you think. If you enjoyed this, please share it with someone else. And if you have anything to say about it, use the hashtag PureLightPodcast. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, may you be guided by your light.